and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Jess and I like to read a lot, and today I'm going to go through the 26 books that I want to read in 2026. So this list I compiled in about October, November last year. A couple of them I've already read. A couple of them, if I did this list now, I probably wouldn't have included. So at the end I'm going to show the books that I would maybe swap in if I was to do this today. Let's get into it. I have created a handy dandy PowerPoint presentation just to assist me today, and I hope you all enjoy it. So the first book that we've got on the list is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is an epic historical military fantasy that is inspired by Chinese history and folklore, and I genuinely cannot wait to read this. I've got the Waterstone special editions of The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic, and I'm waiting for the third edition of this to be released, which is The Burning God. However, Book 1 is on Kindle Unlimited, and it follows an orphan who is fleeing an arranged marriage and ends up joining a military school where she discovers that she's a shaman and she holds the power to stop the Third Poppy War from occurring. It's based on the Second Sino-Japanese War, and I love a fantasy that is rooted in real mythology or real history, so I am so interested to read this one. And also I'm so intrigued by R.F. Kuang's writing because she manages to almost genre bend. She writes in so many different genres and draws inspiration from so many facets of her real life that I think from the start I've got such high hopes for this one. Hello, we are now having a change of scenery and a change of mental capacity because I went to start editing that video and everything apart from that first clip was completely unusable. And now I'm sat in my safe space, which is on the floor. I'm very tired. This video has to go up tomorrow and I'm having to re-record. So, love this for me. Anyway, I'm so sleepy now. And I've just had a chippy tea as well. And all I want to do is go and crawl into bed and lie down. But the show must go on. So, book number 2 on my 26 in 26. The Jasad by Sarah Hashim. This is an Egyptian-based fantasy. It's the first book in a duology. The series is completed and it follows a hidden queen who has to enter trials in order to save her kingdom. I have this book ready and waiting, and I honestly can't wait. I love Egyptian history. I feel like it's remiss that there isn't more Egyptian fantasy. I do have another one actually on my 26 and 26, but if anyone has any other recommendations, I would love to know. We then have Neverkeep by the Twisted Sisters. I have already read this one, so I can tick this off my list. This is set in the same universe as Zodiac Academy, but is completely unrelated. There's a couple of little Easter eggs which are really fun, but it isn't directly involving sort of the heirs and Darcy and Tori, etc, etc. So this is set within the Waning Lands, which is referred to in Zodiac Academy. Within the Waning Lands there are 4 nations. There is Earth, Air, Fire and Water. And at the age of 21, conscripts from those nations go to Neverkeep to have their magic awakened. We follow Everest and Vesper, who are from Water and Air respectively, as they get their magic awakened and they start to uncover secrets within Neverkeep, which may be the answer to this everlasting war which has been going on for hundreds of years between the 4 nations. This series has got me in a chokehold. Book 3 is out at the end of this month. It is so much darker than Zodiac Academy. The writing is so much more mature. The characters are so fleshed out. There is a slow burn. I've finished book 2 and there is spice but very little romance, so the spice isn't necessarily occurring with Endgame. The ones that I think are Endgame, it is a slow burn happening there, and I'm obsessed. I'm absolutely obsessed. I've said before, I think you either love the Twisted Sisters or you hate them. I am firmly in the love camp. I just think they can do no wrong. Another one for R.F. Kuang, and that's Catabasis. So this is Dark Academia. It follows 2 PhD students who have to follow their professor down into the depths of hell in order to defend their thesis and therefore get their PhDs. This is apparently quite loosely, obviously, based on R.F. Kuang's actual experiences within academia and sort of the cutthroat nature of it and how it can feel like you are living in hell if that's your career choice. The Bone Season is the first book in the Bone Season series. I read this in January. It very swiftly became God's Ear, so it is one that I can tick off my list. I love anything Samantha Shannon writes. I've said this before and I will say it until the cows come home. It is a dystopian fantasy that follows Paige, who is a clairvoyant in a version of London where clairvoyancy is illegal. She is known as a dreamwalker. In the first book, she is arrested. She is sent to a prison in Oxford, and there she starts to uncover the secrets of this republic that she lives in, how far spread any kind of corruption is, and the rest of the series follows her bid to bring it down and to get the truth to the masses. And it is just, I love it. I love it so, so much. Red Rising is a sci-fi dystopian novel. The people within this world have a colour caste system, so red is at the bottom, gold is at the very top. Darrow is a red miner from Mars, and he finds out that everything he has been told throughout his entire life is a complete and utter lie in order to advance the gold's cause. He manages to infiltrate a gold trading academy and essentially begins to plot the downfall of this corrupt world that he lives in, and it is perfection. It is so stunning. This book has got so much hype over the last year, even though it's been out 4 years, and it deserves every single bit of hype that it has received. I've read the first 3, so the first arc of Red Rising, and they all got 5 stars off me. I'm obsessed. I cannot wait to start arc 2, and that will be completed in the summer, but Red Rising is another one off my list. I am then going to be a very brave person in 2026, and I am going to start my Brandon Sanderson journey. So from my research, what I realised was the first book to start with within the Cosmo, which is Brandon Sanderson's overall universe, is Mistborn, which is the first book in the Stormlight Archives. This is an epic fantasy, and we focus on the war between humans and a species called Parshendi. It's multi-POV, it's epic fantasy, but yeah, it's a big one. It's a big world to start, but I'm so excited for this one. Because I'm wanting to punish myself this year, I also decided I was going to start my Cassie Clare journey. So I have now read The City of Bones and I loved it. It was just pure nostalgia. I wish I had read these books as an actual teenager because I just think life couldn't have got any better than if that had happened. The series follows Clary Frey, who is a 15-year-old living in New York, and she starts to learn about the paranormal world around her. It is an urban fantasy. It's just a good time. It is everything that you wanted to read at 14, and it's still enjoyable at 38. It's just wonderful. Daughter of No Worlds is the first book in the War of the Lost Hearts trilogy by Carissa Broadbent. This is a completely separate world from the Crowns of Nyaxia. However, it is another romantasy series. It was indie published but picked up for trad publishing last year. The first 2 books are out. The third one is out at some point this year, but they are all available on Kindle Unlimited. We follow a former slave who has magical abilities as she seeks to free a friend, and she is training under a grumpy magician called Max. There's apparently a slow burn romance, there's extensive world building, and everyone I know who's read this absolutely raves about it. We then have Lady of Darkness by Melissa K. Rorick, which is the first book in the Lady of Darkness series. It is the prequel series to the Legacy series, which I know a lot of people absolutely love. This is a completed 5-book series. The first book is on Kindle Unlimited, and then there are a couple of novellas, but I think they now have all been amalgamated into one book. In this series, we follow an assassin who is trying to seek revenge for her mother's death, and in doing so, she starts to uncover a mystery about missing children and how this goes deeper into the world than she could originally understand. There is forbidden magic, there is, I think, enemies to lovers and a slow burn. A couple of people I know who have read this have said it's very similar to Throne of Glass in terms of the vibes it gives and the world it builds, and who doesn't love Throne of Glass? So hopefully this one will be a good time. Spark of the Everflame has been on my list for ages and I just don't get round to it, which I think is a shame. It is the first book in, I think it's the Kindred Curse saga. This is a incomplete series. The 4th book is apparently out this year, but there hasn't been a confirmed release date, I don't think. And in this, we follow DM, who is a healer, and she starts to uncover secrets about the royal family that she works for after her mother's disappearance. And it is set in a mortal world that is ruled by gods. The first book that I read this year was Insatiable, which straight away ticked off one of my 26 in 26, so it was an excellent way to start the year. It also helped that Insatiable was incredible. This is a dark romance, check your trigger warnings, and it is part of a completed trilogy called The Edge of Darkness. Lee Rivers has written something beautiful and messed up, but we follow Cade and Stacey. They have got a forbidden love. It is best friend's brother. It is close proximity. There is a one bed trope during part of it, but it is dark. These two people have had horrific lives and they do not love correctly, but they love how each other needs to be loved is the only way to describe it. This is a stunning dark romance that is done so well without any of the cringy dark romance tropes. Honestly, like I said, check your trigger warnings, but it is a beautiful, beautiful story. A Tongue So Sweet and Deadly by Sophia St. Germain. This follows a half-fae called Alicia, who is under a blood oath to her fae king, and he forces her to enter a human's election, which is essentially a set of trials to see if he can gain more of a foothold within the human nations. There is a love triangle in this, there is enemies to lovers, there is a bit of a slow burn. It's a tick box romantasy to me, but I am glad I read it because it was blowing up last year. I would recommend it if you are loving romantasy. It will give you all the feelings that you want to get from a romantasy. I just read it at the wrong time. Riftborn is the first book in an incomplete trilogy that will also be interlinked with other series such as The Ascended. The overall universe is going to be called The Sundered Realms. So book 1 is already out, which is Riftborn. Book 2, Dustbound, is out later this year. There isn't yet a date for the third book, but this follows Fia, who is an apothecary, also known as a chosen one. I love a chosen one story. I love a fate. I love a prophecy. She has forbidden powers and is made to join the military, where there is then an enemies to lovers situation. There is forced proximity. There's quite a lot of politics, I believe, and I do love a political fantasy. Blood and Steel by Helen Shearer is the first book in the Legends of Thesmar series. In this world, women are not allowed to be warriors due to a prophecy that they're going to ruin the world. Despite that, RFMC manages to make a deal with the king that allows her to join this elite set of warriors, and we follow her training and starting to become a Legend of Thesmar. This is a completed series. There are 4 books, and currently they are all on Kindle Unlimited. From Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout. This is the first book in a completed 6-book series. Again, it's your fantasy romance. We follow Poppy, who is a maiden, which I believe is part of a religious sect. She's been isolated for her entire life until a guard called Hawk turns up and tells her that she is destined for greater things. He causes her to start questioning everything that she's known, everything that she's grown up around, and this story focuses on those two. The Silversmith by L.J. Claren is the first book in what is going to be a 5-book series. This is currently the only book that's out. It is out on Kindle Unlimited, and it is a romantasy that follows Ari, who learns that she has hidden magical powers, and she must use them for the greater good. This has apparently got quite a unique magic system, which I'm a big fan of. There's a slow burn romance. Again, I think it's just I say a feel-good romantasy. I assume it's not feel-good. I assume it's probably quite emotional, but I just mean it gives you those feelings that you want from a romantasy. We then have the second Egyptian-based fantasy, and this is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This follows a con artist in Cairo who unwittingly releases a djinn out into the world. She then runs away, ends up in the hidden djinn city, where she starts to learn a lot more about her own powerful but hidden heritage. This is a completed trilogy, and there is also a novella that's involved in it as well. Oh, and the first 2 books are on Kindle Unlimited. The next one I think I may have made a mistake on, and I'm going to need someone to tell me so if they have read it, but it is The Ever King by L.J. Andrews. And the reason I think I've made a mistake with this is that I have very recently, and by recently I mean today, learned that this is a spin-off to another series, and I don't know if I need to read the other series first, but the other series is 9 books. I don't think I want to read this book so badly that I'm willing to read 9 books before it. So if you have read The Ever King, can you please tell me if I need to read The Broken Kingdoms beforehand? Please tell me I don't have to. Please, honestly, please. But the Ever King follows a sea fae king who teams up with his enemy's daughter after she unwittingly unlocks his chains when he's been captured by her father. It then has enemies to lovers. There is apparently a slow burn. It's ticking all the boxes. Are you seeing what I enjoy in a book? Because each of these books seems to have the same tropes within it. But what really interests me about this is the fact that it is sea-based, so there are pirates. It just feels like it's got a different kind of magic, mythical system within it, one that you don't necessarily see too much, and I am very excited for that, as long as I don't have to read 9 books beforehand. But this is a dark romantasy. There are currently 3 books out, and the 4th is out later this year. We are back to another epic fantasy, and this is The Bone Raiders by Jackson Ford. This is the first book in an incomplete series. The second book is out later this year, but I don't know how many books are going to be in it. I know very little about this book. However, what I do know is that it's about a band of female outlaws who ride fire-breathing lizards. And I don't think I need to give more information than that, because that is enough to make me want to read it. The City of Gods and Monsters by Kayla Edwards is the first book in the House of Devils, Devil's House, House of Devils series. One of the two. I've talked a lot now today. And this is a urban fantasy. It is an incomplete series. Currently 4 books are out, and I can't find any mention of when the 5th one is out, which is great. But these books are hefty. However, everyone I've seen who's read them obsesses over them. But we follow a human girl who has to team up with a bounty hunter within a city that is led by the Immortals in order to find her friend. I have then selected The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This is the first book in a completed trilogy. This book is a sapphic romance, and it is based in Indian mythology and Indian folklore, which again I find quite unique, and I don't think is done enough in fantasy books. But this follows a princess and a handmaiden who have to team up in order to overthrow her tyrannical brother and save the kingdom in which they live. The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen is an incomplete series. It is a series of duets or duologies. I've tried to find out the difference, and I cannot. If someone can tell me, that would be much appreciated. But each duet or duology will follow a different couple, and there are a couple of novellas that are out as well. In this book, we follow a princess who is also trained as an assassin, which I enjoy because it means there is a reason why she's so good at weaponry and doesn't just learn elite martial arts in a 3-day training montage. However, she is told by her parents to marry into a rival kingdom. However, when she does so, she realises that maybe her enemies aren't actually her enemies, and maybe her parents aren't necessarily the beacons of virtue and goodness that she originally thought they were. So she goes and starts to uncover the truth behind everything she knows so far. We then have 2 which are definitely out of the norm for me, but we've got Fairydale by Veronica Lancelot. This is a dark gothic fantasy that also has historical and horror elements in there, I think, as well. This is a standalone novel, and we follow a girl who goes to a strange new town in order to claim inheritance, and there she gets involved in a love triangle, and as always starts to uncover the truth of what is happening around her. We then have Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a Dracula retelling and focuses on his first wife, and I believe it is told in a letter format, which I really enjoy. I am really annoyed about this book because I've had it on my Kindle for about a year. I went to have a look at it earlier and realised it's no longer on Kindle Unlimited, so I've lost my download. Why do we not get a notification if one of our books in our library is going away from Kindle Unlimited? Or did I get a notification and did I ignore it? Can someone let me know, please? Thank you. But I am excited to read this one. However, I do think it's going to be a spooky Halloween type read. And finally, we have a book that is revitalising my faith in romantasy, and it is To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. I've read this a few days ago and I loved it. I rated it 4 stars. It is a dark Rapunzel retelling. There are prophecies, there are hidden magics, there are secret identities, there is a slow burn, there is what I'm thinking is going to be enemies to lovers. I'm now like a quarter of the way through book 2. There has been spice, but it hasn't been endgame spice. It's actually been quite creepy spice. And I don't think it's supposed to be sexy spice. But overall, the world that's being built within this story, I'm obsessed with, and I absolutely love it. And considering I've spent about 5 months absolutely hating romantasy, this series is the thing that's turning it around for me. I love it. I absolutely love it. So good. And there we have it. That is my 26 books I want to read in 2026. For the second time, I can't believe that all got corrupted, and I'm hoping this one is okay. if this one doesn't work, we're not having a video tomorrow. Anyway, the next slide to show you are the books that if I was to make this list today, I would probably add in. As you can see, there's a couple more sort of sci-fi dystopian type books, and there's also romance, because that's who I am this year, guys. I'm branching out and I'm trying to not pigeonhole myself into fantasy. I like contemporary and I like romance, and that's completely okay. So I would put a couple of those in this list as well if I did it again. But I'm not redoing it, and Mama didn't raise no quitter. So I'm probably just going to end up with more books on my TBR, and that's fine. It's totally fine. Totally fine. Anyway, if you are still here watching it, thank you. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you could like this video, leave a comment and subscribe, it would be eternally appreciated. Tell me if you have read any of these books. Tell me if you want to read any of these books. Tell me if any of these books should be a priority. Tell me if you hated any of these books and I should run far away from them. And tell me if I need to read 9 books before I get to the Other King. Anyway, thank you all so much for still being here. I will see you next time. Bye.